Hey there, I'm Jackie Ferris. This week on the 302, we are at the Delaware Art Museum checking out a new exhibit called Marisol to Warhol. It's colorful, it's cool, and it's straight ahead. Hey everyone, welcome to the Delaware Art Museum, where we're here to check out a really amazing exhibit called Marisol to Warhol, Printmaking and Creative Collaboration. There are 3 curators on this project, but only 2 of them are here with us today. I'd like to introduce you to Dorothy Fisher and Margaret Winslow. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
We always enjoy a visit to the Delaware Art Museum. So let's talk a little bit about, the title, From Marisol to Warhol, the creative collaboration. Tell us a little bit about the theme and why you chose that title.
Well, so this show brings together, is it 12? 12 portfolios of prints from the Delaware Art Museum's permanent collection, all made in the second half of the 20th century. A portfolio is a group of prints that are brought together and marketed as one thing. So we see throughout this exhibit, we see artists collaborating with each other in so many different ways. We see artists working together to commemorate something, to raise funds for something, to raise awareness to things, and also just artists working together to create creative projects. And so everything in this, exactly.
Everything in it has some special place. So let's talk about the 2 artists that are, taking center stage, Marisol and Warhol. So I guess let's talk about, everybody knows Warhol, right? So tell us a little bit about the piece that he brings to this exhibit.
So the Andy Warhol that we have in the exhibition is a fabulous work of art created to celebrate the dancer and choreographer Merce Cunningham. This comes from a print portfolio that, as Dorothy mentioned, was an effort to raise funds for the dance company. It's a slightly atypical Warhol, but just as stunning as the other works. The artist incorporates found wallpaper, a beautiful floral motif, and then has a great image of the dancer, of Merce Cunningham, over top of that.
It really is breathtaking whenever you look at it, and I'm sort of familiar with Warhol's work. You think of like the Campbell soup or the shoes or, the MTV iconic image of the astronaut, but this really is something that's layered and has so much context and beauty. You know what I mean? It's just gorgeous.
Absolutely, and it's a portrait of a friend, of a collaborator. Andy Warhol created costumes and dance sets for Merce Cunningham for the Dance Foundation. And so it's a much more intimate and familiar kind of image. And we see that in what Warhol has created for his friend and collaborator, Merce Cunningham.
So when we go to the other namesake of the exhibit, Marisol. Now, people may not know her as well as, say, Warhol, but she's very prolific just the same, right?
Absolutely, and she was great friends with Warhol. They collaborated extensively in the 1960s. She became quite famous with creating sculptures, not prints, that often featured representations of famous people, like the Kennedy family. In this exhibition, we actually see Marisol in a couple of places. The first is in the Kent Bicentennial portfolio, where she's contributed a portrait of early suffrage leaders in a way as a celebration of what does independence mean to me, is what all of the artists were asked to.
So timely now.
Truly. I mean, and that particular portfolio is just really exciting and feels really present, I don't know, in terms of the issues that it raises. But we also have in this exhibition this gorgeous collection of 6 prints that are pretty atypical for her work. But you see these gorgeous outlines of human figures kind of interacting a little bit. And the prints, but the first prints you see the figures are just in outlines, in like 3-color outlines. In the sequence of the prints, she actually adds a single color to each layer. She's thinking about color theory, and as it comes together, you see this beautiful rainbow image of these two figures interacting. And they're also, the prints are physically huge. They're just extraordinary to spend time with.
Yeah, now I know we can't show everything because of copyright and things like that. So what we are showing you is just, I think, a fantastic, colorful, vibrant snapshot of what you can see when you come down and check out the exhibit. But I wanted to ask you about that Marisol creation. Did she actually use outlines of human bodies, and how was it created?
Yes, my understanding is that she actually did use, had figures lay down on probably, I guess, the lithographic stone that she would have used to create the image, but she is actually tracing the outlines of human figures to create those bodies, yes.
That's really interesting. And I know that when people look at it, they're going to think, oh, this kind of reminds me of whenever we were younger for Thanksgiving. We all did, the hands, and it's kind of like the same concept,
totally, but
on a larger scale.
Absolutely. It's like the coolest hand turkey you could possibly imagine. Yes.
Absolutely. And you mentioned that these two work together. Talk to us a little bit about the history. I know that Andy Warhol, he had the factory, and it was just like this creative hub. So many different artists came together with him in this space. Marisol was like a really unconventional person in the 1960s, and the two of them met. I don't quite remember under what circumstances, but they hit it off immediately. Marisol never married. She was she lost her parents really young in a tragic situation, and she and Warhol connected on that kind of level. I think that Warhol just really appreciate her energy. He said that she was glamorous, and what lady doesn't love that?
Exactly.
But there are so many more, so many other things, beautiful pieces in this exhibit that we're going to talk about when we return.
My name is Ashley Guion from Jamestown Catering, and we are serving it up on the 302.
Welcome back. We're at the Delaware Art Museum talking about Marisol to Warhol. I'm joined by two of the three curators, Dorothy Fisher and Margaret Winslow, to talk a little bit about so much in this exhibit. One of the things we were talking about Warhol and his iconic spaceman, but there's another homage to space in this exhibit. Tell us about that.
So we are so lucky to have a copy of Lowell Nesbitt's Moonshot, which is a portfolio that was created to accompany some paintings that Nesbitt created for NASA in 1970 as part of his participation in NASA's Artist Cooperation Program. So these prints are incredible, gorgeous. You have to see them in person. They don't reproduce well in photographs. They use silver ink, and he's reproducing photographs that astronauts took of the moon, and he's reproducing them as gorgeous, almost like paintings. Like they are so, you see kind of abstract forms everywhere. He makes the kind of the precision of these NASA photographs, he turns into this incredibly painterly expression of the kind of beauty of the moon's surface. They are extraordinary. If you want to hear more about them, there'll be a gallery talk on July 17th. But yeah, I mean, they're just fabulous. There's the other thing that's really, I think, poetic and fascinating about them is that they're lithographs, which is a type of printmaking that involves a stone. You make the print with a stone. And so there is this really wonderful dimension here where we're looking at like Nesbitt's adaptation of a picture of Buzz Aldrin's footprint on the surface of the moon, and he's created that image by making an impression of that picture on the surface of the stone. And so there's this really wonderful thinking about like, what's a print, a footprint, what's a physical print? I don't know, they're just fabulous, and you've got to come see them.
So we're going to make a transition from the heavens to the earth and talk about Made in America. Tell us a little bit about, that piece and what it's saying.
So the Made in America, I think, so that piece is actually called America, Her Best Product, which is part of the Kent Bicentennial portfolio, and it's by the artist Ed Ruscha, California pop artist. And it's fascinating. I mean, again, every artist that came to the Kent Bicentennial portfolio has their own angle on the situation. And this one particularly, I think, dovetails with the concept for the portfolio. It's an abstract kind of background, and you have text that says Made in America. And like I said, the title is America, Her Best Product. And thinking about the explosion of commercial products that was available in the 1970s as stuff generally starts to become cheaper. We're thinking about the stickers that you see on things Made in America, the kind of signals of manufacturing, but you also have the entire project is actually a corporate promotional project by the Lorillard Tobacco Company, which was at the time part of the Lowe's Hotel Corporation. So we have these really complex corporate relationships that are giving way to this that Ed Ruscha is activating through his print there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So one of the things that one of the pieces that I really like is the Cadillac. So Margaret, tell us a little bit about just the beauty of it and the symbolism in this piece.
Absolutely. So that's a fabulous image. It's bold, it's interesting. America, the America Dream, Lotto the American Dream by Luis Cruz Azaceta. This print is part of a portfolio, Artist as Catalyst, that was published to benefit the Alternative Museum. That was a museum that's in New York. It was in New York. It's no longer there anymore. But the whole portfolio was published in the early 1990s. And so that piece by Azaceta, other works by Lorna Simpson, by Adrian Piper, by Luis Jimenez, are all engaging with American culture and American politics in the early 1990s. They're exploring issues of equity. They're thinking about the AIDS epidemic. And so it speaks to the heart of some of those political and social concerns at that moment. And it's interesting to bring them forward to today, to think about the time that has passed and what of those issues are still relevant in this moment.
Absolutely. Now, one of the pieces that sticks out, if you walk through the gallery, just by the way it's hung, is the Bolotowski. Just really beautiful, hung at a diamond.
Those prints are just fascinating. I love those Bolotowski prints. Bolotowski was an artist who came to America as a child fleeing the Russian Revolution. He then proceeded to go through the 20th century, moving through the art world in really interesting ways. He worked as a WPA artist for the New Deal in the 1930s, creating murals and working as an art teacher. And then later, by the time he creates this portfolio, he's really at the top of his career. And the hardline kind of modernism that he practices, not necessarily in style anymore, but he's committed to it and throughout his entire life in a really profound way. And you see the kind of zenith of this, with this print series, and you see the absolute precision of the lines and the shapes and the colors. They're all kind of coming together. Yeah, there's a simplicity to them, but just a profound elegance. Yeah.
That's a perfect example of how I would describe the Stella. Tell us about the Stella.
Absolutely. So the Frank Stella print is in the portfolio to benefit the Merce Cunningham Dance Foundation. And Merce Cunningham in the 1960s and early 1970s is working with some of the most important American artists of the second half of the 20th century. So Frank Stella included, of course, Andy Warhol, Jasper Johns, Robert Rauschenberg. These are critical artists who are promoting and pushing notions of American art in the second half of the 20th century. Frank Stella is no different. He has this wonderful, bold imagery of primary colors, very similar to the costumes and set designs that he created for one of Merce Cunningham's dance pieces. So we see that wonderful memory of that dance costume and set design repeated on the print that Stella created.
Now, there are so many different pieces in this exhibit. All have something different to say, made in different ways, draw people out in just amazing. The reactions, I think, are going to be cool. You have talks. You mentioned a talk, but you want people to understand the methods and the means and the message behind these pieces. So are there any other talks that we should be aware of?
Absolutely. So coming up in June, on June 26th, we'll have a talk about Merce Cunningham's dance portfolio, having the opportunity to look in depth at the Andy Warhol, at the Frank Stella, other artists that he was collaborating with, not only for his costume and set designs, but also in the production of promotional materials for the dance company, seeing just what that creative collaboration looks like.
Well, fantastic. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for joining us. When we come back, we're going to talk about local voices that are included in this colorful chorus. Stay with us.
This is Wesley Paulson from Clear Space Theater giving a shout out to the 302 and thanking you for supporting live theater at the beach.
Welcome back. We're in a different section of the museum to take a look at local voices as part of Marisol to Warhol, but this is called Painter's Print. You remember my friend Margaret. Margaret, tell us a little bit about what is this?
So this is a commission we're so excited about. We took inspiration from Marisol to Warhol and specifically the work of William T. Williams. Many of the artists in the exhibition are approaching printmaking for the first time and approaching portfolio making for the first time. And so we wanted to draw some inspiration there and invite 3 painters, all emerging artists here in Delaware, to create 3 prints for the first time. They worked with master printers up in Philadelphia to bring their creations to life.
So let's talk about the first one. It's called Esperanza, which means hope in Spanish. So tell us about, very colorful and beautiful.
So I love this print. This is by the artist Connie Madariaga, one of the 3 we commissioned. Now, pulling at that creative collaboration, we decided for this commission, we're not only working with 3 artists and 2 printmakers, we're also working with 3 local organizations. So Connie worked with the Latin American Community Center to create a print that embodied their more than 50-year history, and as we can see here in this image, the way that organization, LACC, helps its community members grow and thrive.
Really double meaning, very colorful, really amazing. I want to move on to this black and white image you have here. If you step back, if you look at it really quickly, you think it's an animal print, but it's not.
Exactly. So this is the work of Aleem Smith. Aleem worked with Kuumba Academy, a school here in Wilmington that supports creativity in those emerging minds elementary school program. The Delaware Art Museum has a long partnership with Kuumba Academy. Their students come here to the museum to visit the galleries, engage in the studio programs. So Aleem worked with them to showcase their creativity. And what I love is, to your point, we see a kind of zebra pattern when we look at it at a quick glance or at a distance. But when we get closer, we see bodies in motion, we see dancers, we see creativity. That's exactly what Aleem is bringing forward.
And this is Aleem right here. We can see him kind of creating everything. I really like how on each panel, as we go and we look at each work, you have a piece, as it were, of the artist behind it at work.
Exactly. So these fabulous photographs were taken by our own manager of marketing and digital storytelling, Shannon Woodlow. She captured the artist working in Soapbox at the printmaking studio where all of these prints were created. Up there, they worked with Erica Hansen and Mattel Dreskin to create these prints at Soapbox.
It really stands out how gorgeous and dynamic each one of these pieces are. So let's talk about this last one. It's very dramatic in that you don't know if it's a mountain they're climbing or if that's water or lightning or what's going on here, but it really is emotional.
This is a fabulous print as well, and I think you're absolutely right. It's a dynamic image. Oscar Eduardo de Paz worked with the Route 9 Library and Innovation Center to create a print that celebrates the essential role that libraries play in a healthy and thriving community. So he drew inspiration from the works of Jacob Lawrence that you could see there in Marisol, to Warhol, as well as another artist, Aaron Douglas. And he created this dynamic image. We can see these figures climbing up the mountain. They're heading towards this ultimate goal. That's exactly what libraries do, helping everyone reach our summit, which is the title of the print.
Now, there is so much to Marisol, to Warhol, and Painter's print that we haven't been able to show people. So if they want to come, and we hope that they do, how long is the exhibit up?
The exhibition is up through September 7th. It's a nice long run. Plenty of time to come here to the museum, either for gallery talks or come visit us later on Thursdays when we're open until 8 o'clock for happy hours during the summer.
Fantastic. Well, Margaret, thank you so much. We certainly enjoy visiting the Delaware Art Museum every time we come.
And we love having you here. Thank you.
All righty, we'll be right back. Aren't these prints amazing? Well, if you come to the Delaware Art Museum to check them out, make sure you snap a selfie and share it with us on Facebook. Now, here's something else you might want to check out. For more information on Marisol to Warhol, all you have to do is go to delawareart.org. That'll do it for this week's episode of The 302. Make sure you follow us on Facebook to get behind-the-scenes content you're just not going to get anywhere else. We're going to leave you now with a beauty shot of the Rose Garden next to the Brandywine River in Wilmington. Until next time, I'm Jackie Ferris. Tell them you saw it on The 302.